This is Charles Russo, Risk Manager at NJ Car. Today's topic will be walking working surfaces, eliminating common dealership conditions that cause slip, trip, and falls. It's estimated that the average person takes roughly 8,000 steps per day. I think that this gentleman probably took all 8,000, but the point of it is I want you to think of a time where you have slipped or tripped and fell. And aside from the pain and embarrassment, can you recall the conditions leading to the accident? Maybe you were using your cell phone and you were distracted, or maybe there was something in the environment that you tripped over. This training will increase you and your coworkers' safety by helping you recognize and prevent slip, trip, and falls on walking working surfaces in your workplace. The objectives are awareness, requirements, and correction. Awareness. Identify the types of hazardous walking surfaces common to your workplace. Requirements. We're going to look at the minimum requirements for maintaining safe walking and working surfaces. And then correction. Correcting unsafe conditions and behaviors. You're important. Your health and safety is important. Your employer wants you to go home the same way that you came in every day. Healthy, without accidents, and free of injury. So let's take a look at some of the hazards that are going to be common in a dealership environment. Ice and snow. New Jersey has gotten several inches of ice and snow over the last couple of weeks. The recent snowstorms are a reminder of how important ice and snow removal is for the safety of employees and customers. I think initially everybody does a really good job. Everybody's shoveling, they're out there clearing pathways, clearing off vehicles. But what happens is over time, there's something that's known as a freeze-thaw cycle. And that's when the temperature fluctuates from above freezing to below freezing and then back to above freezing again. And it's particularly problematic for the automotive dealership industry. Because think about it, as snow kind of melts off of, you've cleared a path, you've cleared the lots, there is no slippery surfaces, ice and snow has been removed. But as snow kind of melts off of the vehicles, it lays back on those lots and then freezes back up, causing a slippery condition. A freeze-thaw cycle also creates a trip and fall hazard. And it does it by doing the following. As water melts, it goes and seeps into the cracks on the parking lots and in other outside areas, freezes back up and then cracks. And over time, that lifts those areas, creating a trip and fall hazard as well. So ice and snow removal, we're going to talk about some of the ways to prevent those things from happening. The next area are wet floors. Wet surfaces are the most common causes of slip and falls. It causes a hazard not only for the employee working directly on top of the wet surface, but as that employee walks throughout the facility, they are spreading those wet conditions throughout the surfaces of those floors, creating a hazard for everyone else. So wet floors is an important area, and we're going to talk about how to prevent that from happening. Cluttered aisles. I cannot stress enough that aisles are not storage areas. Walking working surfaces are exactly that. They're walking and working surfaces. They are not areas to store boxes or anything else that employees or others might trip over. Same thing with stairs. Stairs are not storage areas. Good housekeeping is the best method for preventing trip and falls up and down stairs. You cannot store boxes along a stairwell and expect that it's safe to go up and down those stairs. So you see two pictures here, one where there's things being stored along the stairs and one where there's slippery items being stored at the top landing of the steps on a set of stairs. Both are very problematic. And, you get the pushback, well, we're not using that area right now. It's in a transition. Here's the problem with that. If there's an emergency responders like a firefighter, they're not going to be able to reach the fire in time. And it's going to become a bigger problem than it would have otherwise been. So very important to keep those things clear, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Ladders and floor openings. Portable ladders should not be used as permanent ladders. And openings should have railings in place when they're not in use, period. So in both of these situations, you have a portable ladder that's not set up right. That needs to be fixed. And in the second situation here, you have an opening with a drop with at least 10 to 12 feet, there has got to be a railing there in place. And I would even suggest that the taping be replaced and things like that. So that's really important. Hoses and cords. Hazardous floors are the leading cause of falls inside the workplace. So hoses and cords are another hazard that we'll be looking at a little closer on how to prevent tripping and falling over those. Floor mats and rugs. Curling and buckling floor mats and rugs are another issue. We'll talk about that. Uneven surfaces. Uneven surfaces create hazardous conditions, obviously, and as time goes by, it's important to highlight those areas with yellow taping or paint, and to replace that yellow taping or paint as it becomes necessary. Footwear. 24% of all trip and falls are caused by improper footwear. Tennis shoes, flip-flops, Crocs, these types of shoes have no place in a shop environment or really in a dealership environment. Wear appropriate footwear, and that means something that provides solid ankle and foot support with non-slip soles at a minimum. Steel toe and steel shank soles are not overkill if you work as a technician in a shop environment. So consider these types of footwear as well. So a couple quick questions. The average person takes about how many steps per day? The average person takes about 8,000 steps per day. Slip and falls mostly occur on where? Slip and falls mostly occur on wet surfaces. What percentage of trip and falls are caused by improper footwear? 24%. What condition in the workplace is the leading cause of accidental falls? Hazardous floors. So let's look at some minimum walking working surface safety requirements. All environments should have the following. All passageways, storerooms, surface rooms, and walking working surfaces are kept in a clean, orderly, and sanitary condition. The floor of each workroom is maintained in a clean and, to the extent feasible, in a dry condition. When wet processes are used, drainage must be maintained, and to the extent feasible, use dry standing places such as mats. Walking working surfaces are maintained free of hazards such as sharp or protruding objects, loose boards, corrosion, leaks, spills, snow, and ice. Let's talk about prevention. Ice and snow. Very important to get ahead of and stay on top of winter weather. Don't be surprised by it. Only use snow blowers in safe and working order. If you have a piece of machinery that's not in safe working order, you must tag that piece of machinery and take it out of service. Let your manager know that it's been taken out of service, and anybody else who might use it. Use quality shovels. Practice snow and ice removal safety. If you do your own plowing, make sure that customers and employees are not going to wander into the areas that you're plowing where you're going to have visibility issues where you might injure those individuals. If you can, section off areas and don't allow people to come into those areas. If you can't do that, put cones and let everybody know what's going on. Shovel correctly. That means lifting with your legs, not your back, not twisting a load, getting rid of a load of snow directly in front of you somewhere instead of twisting around, walking that load over to where you can get rid of it safely and doing it in that manner. Take the time to do it correctly. Use salt and other melting agents and plan for these conditions. Order it in time enough so that you have it available throughout the season. Have a snow and ice removal plan that addresses that freeze-thaw cycle that we discussed earlier. And keep everyone's health and safety the primary focus. Wet floors. Whenever you can, resolve wet floors immediately. Place caution wet floor signs out during inclement weather. Keep drains and clear and place non-slip mats in areas where wet floor conditions exist. Dry mop wet floors several times throughout the day. If it's not your responsibility, don't ignore it. Let somebody know, like your manager, who can then get somebody who is responsible for doing this. The dealerships that resolve wet floors immediately within a 10-minute period have less claims, they have less injuries than the dealership that allows these things to be there and are not taking care of it when they need to. So large versus small spills, there's effective spill kits and absorbents for both. Look into using them and keep the floors as dry as possible. Aisles. Remember to practice good housekeeping to prevent slip, trip, and falls. Keep all aisles and walkways clean and clear. Remember, they're not storage areas. If necessary, mark permanent aisles and passageways so that things are not stored in those areas. Stairs. Keep all stairways clear and open for passage. Again, not a storage area. Even if stairs are not used, they must remain clear for emergency responders. Think fire emergencies. Get help when moving large objects up and down steps, and make sure stairs are guarded with a standard railing with toe board on all exposed sides. Ladders. Broken ladder. They must be removed from service immediately. Tag it with do not use and put it in a place where it won't be used, and notify your supervisor and anybody else that might use it. Only have ladders repaired by a repair person or organization approved by the ladder manufacturer. Never carry a load up or down a ladder. Never stand on the top steps. And always, like Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. here, use 3 points of contact when ascending and descending a ladder. That means only 1 foot or 1 hand is off of that ladder at a time, and you have a combination of foot and hands attached to that ladder, 3 of them at all times. Hoses and cords. Again, we come back to awareness. Stay aware of your surroundings. Don't be distracted by cellular phones or daydreaming or anything like that when working in these areas. Don't place hoses and cords across doors or other common walkways. I know it sounds like common sense, but it does happen. Coil and store all hoses and cords away and off the floor whenever they are not being used. Floor mats and rugs. It is so important to correct and curling and buckling mats and rugs. I see employees walk over curling, buckling mats and rugs all the time. They will always increase the chance of a serious trip and fall accident. Schedule times throughout the day to correct curling, buckling mats. If it's not your responsibility, again, report it to somebody whose responsibility it is. If you spot curling or buckling of rugs and mats, you got to get it reported. Uneven surfaces. Keep uneven surfaces clearly marked. Put up railings and barriers to prevent trip and falls. It's that simple. So quick quiz. True or false? Good housekeeping is the best method to prevent slip, trips, and falls? That's true. Identify proper footwear. Tennis shoes, flip-flops, Crocs. Are these proper footwear for a dealership environment? No. You need shoes that include ankle support and non-slip soles, at the very least. True or false? It's completely safe to stand on the very top steps of a ladder? Well, that's obviously false. How many points of contact should a person always have on a ladder? Is it 1, 2, 3? None of the above? It's 3. True or false? If a defective ladder is found, immediately mark it defective, tag it do not use, and withdraw it from service until repaired. And that is obviously true. You know, the problem with ignoring slip, trip, and fall hazards is it really does create unnecessary human suffering. You and I are not special. We are subject to slip, trip, and falls just like everyone else. And we can really reduce the occurrence of these by becoming more aware, by knowing what the basic requirements are, and by also taking corrective action and not ignoring it when we identify these situations. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. We can do this training for you on site for new employees, or I can help with any other questions you have regarding health and safety. Again, my contact information is here. Thank you for listening in today, and have a safe and healthy day.